Welcome back to another reading and correcting of Stepping Up with me, Kindar, the Tiger Writes, and I, the Tiger Supervisor. Today we are doing chapter 58. Are they that bad? Tibs asked as Karina dragged her feet. He wore an oiled sheet over his nice clothing to keep them dry in the drizzle. Zachariah had cleaned them and had also shorn his hair down to the thickness of a finger. They'd hum through the process and asked Tibs about the dungeon. He kept his stories to the exciting part of the exploring the first and second floor and didn't mention all the death he had to endure. They were too nice to hear about those. They're a bunch of self-centered, never-minded, no-imagination Puritan, she grumbled. That last one sounds like it would apply to everyone in the city. That doesn't make it any better, she yelled in exasperation, and some of the men and women passing by looked in their direction. She wore a sorcerer's robe, the one she'd gotten from Stone. Paolo had offered her one of Zachariah's dresses, but Kieran had glared at the cleric. It was sure that if the dress hadn't belonged to Zachariah, Kieran would have shredded it. Will it go better if you tell them I'm your special guy? She glanced at him, an eyebrow raised. He shrugged. Everyone expects us to have a special someone. Plus, I'm going to help, but thanks for offering. They aren't going to have a problem with you. You're not part of a family, so they aren't going to have expectations as to who you should have become. The neighborhood they entered had a larger house, but they were no more luxurious than any of the others before. By the sound coming in them, as well as the number of people coming and going, the size seemed to accommodate larger families instead of denoting status. When Karina stopped, Tibs did the same. Littles, you know what? This would be another different paragraph. Littles set the house they stood in front of from the others. It was made of rough stone, and the wooden beams supporting the porch were coated in pitch to protect them from the water. Zachariah had explained that they used the wood of a tree that was more resistant to rain, but even then they needed the extra protection. The 3 rocking chairs and bench under the awning looked well used. Shutters were open, the glass keeping the drizzle out and letting the light in. Voices came from inside. A lot of them. How many people are in your family? Tibbs asked. It depends who's in the city, she sighed. By the sound, I'd say we're dealing with at least 30 of them. And look, it's her role. I don't have my knife, Tibbs said. Maybe Pillow had known what Tibbs might offer to make Karina feel better. Because he had kept the one knife Tibbs had brought to the city. But I can make one with ice and lower the numbers if that's going to make you feel more comfortable. She fought against a smile. No killing my family, Tibbs. She lost, then her sigh wasn't so filled with misery. I'm not happy with them, but not so much I want any of them dead. Tibbs thought Paolo had come close with his offer of the dress. I can pick pockets so badly I'll get caught and they'll kick us out. Not picking pockets, she said, horrified. You can't go in the dungeon if you're in the cell. It's kind of how I ended up. No picking pockets, Tibbs, she instructed. He nodded, and she sighed in resignation. I guess I'll just have to go through with this and hope it's worth it. It will be, she glanced at him. For you, certainly. You're the one getting an element out of this. All I'm getting is, she motioned to the house. A family? He did his best not to let this confusion sound. Wasn't a family you didn't get along with better than no family at all? I have a family, she replied, tone firm. He's next to me right now. One's in Craggle having too much fun with his special guy. I should have forced him to come so he could suffer with me. Yes. Tibbs chuckled. Jackal, among new people who's never heard his stories, he suffers so much. Right. Then you can tell him all the chances to impress people he missed once we're back. It's going to serve him right for not being here to support me through this. She stepped onto the porch and entered the house. Karina's home! A man yelled as he placed polished stone plate on a long, pale wood table. Unlike in Craggle Rock, among the other runners, what Paolo had done to Tibs so he would understand The city's people let him hear the other language. And no, he didn't understand it, but he also understood them. The cleric had explained that what he'd woven through Tibs's mind purified the words to their meaning, and everyone understood meaning. Tibs hadn't quite understood what that meant. "You're looking good," a woman said as she walked by, stone goblets in her arms. "Who's your friend?" She was gone before Tibs could introduce himself. A child poked their head around the edge of a doorway, eyeing them suspiciously. Men and women walked by, offering greetings faster than Tibs could react to, carrying items for preparing the table for the coming meal. When he glanced at Karina, her eyes were closed and she had a small smile. She opened them as if sensing him looking and shrugged. But the smile remained. No one ignored them as they worked, but they were too busy setting the table to stop for their greetings. It was a chaos that reminded Tibs of Krosef's family at the Mountain Sea Inn when it was busy. Only here, there was no stopping to chat with a customer when serving them, or leaning against the bar, taking in the room before heading in. Only the youngest children didn't take part, but they stayed at the edge of the room, out of the way, as they watched the adult and older children. "Don't just stand there," a woman said as she walked by carrying baskets of bread in her arm. "There's lots more food in the kitchen that needs moving." Tibs couldn't read the expression that flashed on Karina's face. It might have been relief, but that didn't make sense since she'd been given work to do. "Yes, mother," she hurried to the other room, and Tibs followed, only to stop when the woman, Karina's mother, said, "You don't have to. Guests don't need to share in the work." Tibs looked around at everyone and tried imagining standing here, just doing nothing. What if I want to help? Put his hand in his pockets. None of the people's pockets were bulging, but he could tell there were things in them. As much as he'd been joking when he talked about picking pockets, he knew that if he didn't stay busy, the temptation would only increase. "Then you are most welcome to the family," she said as she placed the basket on the table. With a nod, she indicated the door. "In that room, you'll find the chairs. Why don't you help bring them to the table?" Tibs set to work, and immediately he became one of them. When the chairs were placed, he was set to help bring the candelabras, then fetch the candles. He was in the kitchen, turning the spit over the fire in the open back of the house, with only a large oiled sheet hanging over the deck, keeping the rain off him and the food. Talking never stopped, but no one questioned who he was or what he was doing here with Karina. They asked about where he was from and how he met Karina, but they didn't press for more than he gave. One teased him, asking if he and Karina were engaged. Because of what Paolo had told him about things were between him and Zachariah, Tibs knew that meant betrothed, like Nez and his girl. No, he told them they were simply friends and teammates. He stopped himself from saying they were family, because whatever reservation Karina had about being here, they were gone now, replaced by contentment as she worked alongside a parent, siblings, and other related to her in ways Tibs didn't understand. They sat as a man lit the candles on the table. He seemed no older than the other adults, but there was a sense of authority about him that turned the lighting into a ceremony. The energy that had filled the house was now an undercurrent to the peace surrounding the table. There were 3 and 6 people around the table, including him and Karina, but not the children, who sat on the adult's lap. Tibs had never seen so many people at one table, or a table so large to fit them all. How was he going to reach for the meat he wanted when it was 8 places away? "You did good work, Karina," the man said, once he sat among the others. Karina was seated between her mother and father, who looked barely older than Karina. He shared the same brown hair with hints of red, but his skin was closer to Tib's light brown than hers, and her mother's dark version of it. "As did your friend. Welcome to our family, Tibs." Tib's "thank you" came out soft. He was unsure if it meant he'd been greeted as her special guy. If anyone, special guy. If anyone, okay, he was unsure if it meant he'd been greeted as her special guy. If anyone who helped became part of the family, or even what being part of the family meant. The meal has been made with care and attention, the men told. The table set with determination and effort. Fire has been brought to assist in purifying the room. Live pure, work hard, and always keep wary of corruption. Chaos erupted as soon as the last word was said. People reached for bowls, plates, or bottles. Wine, and ale poured among the laughter, and meats and vegetables being passed around for each to take. Conversation were light and intense. There was a lack of order in how they served themselves that stunned Tibs, since work leading up to this moment had got organized. The company was good, the food better, and Tibs ate heartily, as did everyone else. He'd never tell Croswell, but Tibs thought the food might be better than what the inn served. And this concludes chapter 58 of Stepping Up. If you are enjoying this, please hit the like button. If you want to know when the next one is going to be, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read the story, you can do so on Royal Road for free. If you want to support me or read the story further ahead than Royal Road, you can do that on my Patreon. If you want to listen to me do these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. And the links are in the notes. And with that, I shall wish you a good day.